Hi everybody, it's Natasha from the Cozy Cushion. I just thought I would drop by on Ruby Tuesday and enjoy a few moments with you talking about something that I had heard the other day during coaching, I believe, and it kind of struck a chord and within me, and it kind of hit me really hard, and it made me pause for a moment and put some thought into my own life. So what that thought was about our relationships and how sometimes we add unnecessary feelings, emotions, and attitudes towards our relationships. And the person was kind of talking about this and talking about how they were fighting, having a disagreement with their significant other, and how that when they got home from work they were gonna apologize and make up, and the other person had said to them, well, you're assuming that you're gonna make it home. And that stopped me for a moment, and it made me really once again think about the here and now and how important being present with our children and our loved ones and our friendships as best as we can be, how important it is, especially with forgiveness and anger and different little things that seem to disrupt us now and again. Sometimes we hold on to those things and they just never seem to be resolved for whatever reason. And at the end of the day, if you were to ask yourself, is this going to matter in 5 years? The answer is going to be it's not going to matter at all. And it's especially not going to matter if life changes suddenly, which it does. That's one thing that we all have in common. And it's one thing we take for granted most often, I find, is that our lives are always changing. And I personally, and one of the reasons why the Cozy Cushion idea is so vitally important to me is I don't change well. I don't change relationships well. I don't change my living arrangements well. I don't move well. When my son graduated high school and wanted to move out, I was a terrible empty nester, and I even refused to talk about it because I didn't want that to change. I didn't want that relationship to change. And so the last few days, I've been really thinking about the present and the here and now and how important it is, and why it's important to be in the here and now is because that's where the magic is. And we so easily forget that all the time. So we don't want to take certain things for granted, like, when things get better, I have money, I'll do this when. When the kids are grown, I'm going to buy my own sports car. When I have all the bills paid off, I'm going to enjoy a concert. We have all these when, the when mentality, when enough's enough. And what I've come to realize is that it's always one of two things. You always have enough, like how I feel lately, is that there's enough and it's a good place to be. Or the other part of me, the past me, where there is never enough. And I was always waiting for the next thing. And so I guess a message that I just wanted to come here and sit with today was here and now. There's no time like the present. And, when it comes to our spirituality and being a spiritual person, we have a tendency, especially the empathic people, we have a tendency to feel things deeply. But we also have a tendency to procrastinate and not enjoy life because we are so anxious and we're so worried ahead of time, ahead of things. We get ahead of ourselves. So, it's important to bring yourself to the present and not too far ahead, So if you're one of those people that worries ahead, like, oh, what's going to happen when my son gets his license? What's going to happen when he has his own apartment? You're really ruining today. And just on the contrary, if you're thinking about the past and, how am I going to make up that lost time of when my son was little and I was angry a lot and I wanted to become better and I should have became a mom better sooner or what have you, and I'm living in the past, I'm doing the same thing. I'm ruining my here and now. So I guess that's my message that I wanted to come with on this Ruby Tuesday is the here and now is just so vitally important. It's important to enjoy your life where you're at. So if you're living in a place that's not the best, instead of hating it and hating how it feels and, all the bad things about it, do the best you can with what you've got. Appreciate it that you have that particular place just for now, and then make a goal to change. So, you're never stuck the same. It's always, you have always three options. You can be thinking in the past and dwelling there. You can be present in the here and now, and you can be open and ready to receive and calm, cool and collected, and moving through things as they happen. Or you can be in the future being anxious and worried or, even excited about how things are going to go before you take the first steps, So it's really, really important never to get too far ahead of yourself, because it's always sad when you get ahead of yourself and you get let down. And oftentimes we get let down because we realize how much work goes into becoming who we're meant to be. And that's how we build our spiritual strengths. So as your guide at the Cozy Cushion, if you ever have trouble maneuvering through your life and these tides and changes, it's always good to ask yourself a few questions. One question is this going to matter in 5 years? The next question that's really good to ask yourself in the present moment, is this mine? Is this my mess? Is this mine to be in? Is this mine to be fixed? Or does it belong to somebody else? I see sometimes people trying to fix other people's situations. For instance, in my life, there's been times where I wanted to help myself, but I also wanted to help other people. And there was this one time in particular, I knew a dad that he lost his wife suddenly. She was killed in an accident, and he had 5 small children, and he worked full time. He was completely the one he was always used to being at work. He was never home. So first of all, he realized he didn't really know his children that well. And then suddenly, in the blink of an eye, he had no mom for 5 kids. And, I thought, well, geez, I'm a young mom. I have 1 child. I could help him, get back to work so he could earn a living to be able to afford, to pay for his mortgage and so on and so forth. And I could really help him out, which is a great thing to do. But it didn't work out because it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine to fix. This gentleman had a situation that he needed to kind of process and move through in his own way. And yes, he did need help. And that sort of thing. So sometimes we don't want to over project ourselves into situations and say, oh, well, if we don't do this for a child, they're never going to be able to do it on their own. or if I didn't tell them to have a shower, they just wouldn't have a shower. We don't want to encourage people to be dependent on us or what we bring to the table. We really want to be self-sufficient, to be spiritually strong. And that can be hard, you know, and it can be lonely to be spiritually evolved as well. You know, you become very, very independent, and in your present moments, you're able to just accept things as they are, which is great. So that's a really good reason to ask yourself those questions. Is this mine? Will this matter 5 years? What's the best right move right now? You know, instead of getting hung up, oh no, the landlord needs to sell the house that I'm in. I need to find an apartment really quick. So instead of going into a tailspin of, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have 6 dogs. I have great big dogs. There's not going to be a place to live. There's a housing crisis. You could think, okay, well, where's one place that I want to be other than here right now? Maybe I can put that into my next best move, you know? And fill in the gap of other missing things in your life so you're never stuck. And if you're willing to change, life can become easier. And if you can make decisions, which has taken me years, 47 years, to learn to respect my authority in making decisions for myself. You know, so when you can make your own decisions and you can be happy and solid in those decisions, and you've put thought into the present moment of how is this going to affect my life right now? How, you know, not 5 years, how you see yourself, how it really is. What's this present moment like right now, and how can I move it forward? How can I change it to be more of what I want? So sometimes we need to realize that life isn't happening to us. It's happening for us. And if we look at it a little bit different from that perspective, and we chilled out a little bit and stopped forcing it or forcing ourselves upon fixing it, changing it, things would line up and be easier, and hopefully more of what you love and what you do want instead of what you don't want. So just keep in mind as I leave you today that when you focus on what you don't want, what hurts, what bothers you, what irritates you, what drives you crazy and bonkers out of your mind, and if you're resisting it and you're not changing it and it's not yours and you stay in it, that's how you become spiritually broken down. So the only way to build your spiritual strength is to bring yourself to the present moment, a state of awareness and accountability and responsibility that this is your life alone, nobody else's. Nobody else is making you behave, act, or do any certain way. And how you can make it better and easier and gentler for yourself, because you deserve it. And I believe everybody can change for the good, and it doesn't have to be for the worst. And the reason I love what I do is because I have so much confidence in what I do that the proof is in the people that I help. You know, like my friend Ruby, you know, one of my favorite stories about Ruby. I'll just share a quick story about Ruby. Ruby suffered from severe rheumatoid arthritis, and at times Ruby would become very seized up. Her bones would be very heavy, and she couldn't move very well at all. And at times, you know, people would always tell her, you know, oh, you should sit down, you shouldn't do much, you're going to get hurt. And the more people told her that, the worse she got. So there was times I would show up as her housekeeper. It was a few things to Ruby. The first thing was her housekeeper. So as her housekeeper, I would show up, and she was with her nurses and her doctors and her team of people. And I would come in, and she would be completely just seized. Her hands would be tight and clutched, and her body would be small and folded and wincing, and her pain levels were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And when I would come in, I would just never have an expectation. I was just so glad to see my friend, and I knew that when I see her, she was going to be excited to see me, and I had a game plan. I knew I was going to change her idea of whatever was going on. So we had this thing, we had angel cards that we used to do. We both love angels, we both talk to angels, and we shared a love for angels. So whenever I walked in, she would know that we were going to have this positive experience, and I would know that we were going to share the experience. And what I realized very quickly, within weeks of working with Ruby, is after I was in her presence for 5 or 10 minutes, she was at ease. She would sit back and unwind and unfold like this tight little rosebud that was, just curled up in this little safety ball. And she would just, her hands would relax, and she would start moving around, and it became a phenomenon for not only me to see, because it was interesting for me of how different she became in my energy and what my empathy and my intuition brought to the table in our relationship, because of how I just never believed that you can't do something. It just isn't in my brain that there's things you can't do. So even though Ruby had trouble walking, had trouble using her hands, I never wanted her to believe that she couldn't do something. So I never treated her that way, ever. And what I noticed was, in my presence, her mind would change about her thoughts, and she'd become present and become grounded, because that was part of what I enjoyed doing when I work with people. When I was cleaning her house, it was important that I clean the energy when I came in. It wasn't just cleaning her things and her stuff in her bathroom. It was actually clearing the energy within the room. And then I'd see her at ease, and she could move more. And that's an amazing thing to do for yourself or somebody else. So if we all learn how to be present in the moment and to be around what serves us and take ourselves out of what does not serve us, our world would become such a completely different place. It would be bonkers. It would be what we're all dreaming about every day when we're saying, "Oh, I wish I could stay home and work from home because I want to be home with my dog." You can be. You can do that. You just have to create a map. You have to be present in the moment. You have to see what there is available, and you have to decide, what's my next best move? So, as an Akashic record reader, those are the things that I excel at. I help navigate some of the uncharted waters and things that we run into as we change course, change our mind, and change our lives. So that's what a spiritual coach does, and that's what I like to do here at the Cozy Christian. And I'm going to let you go now, because I am so excited for myself that I actually made it to Ruby Tuesday on Tuesday here at the Cozy Christian. So please follow me, subscribe to my YouTube channel at the Cozy Christian, and follow me on Facebook as well. I really would like to have any input that you have, and answer any questions you have, and also create dialogue of things that you may want me to talk about or talk about with me. So I want you to all take a moment, become present. Become grateful for this moment that we have here and now. And soldier on with joy in your heart and beat to a new drum. Because it can happen. There's nobody there to tell you that you can't, except for you. And I love you. You're loved by me. And I'll talk to you next Tuesday. So you all take care. See you soon. Natasha.